The girl in the dust. Ethan walked slowly through the ruined alien colony. The wind carried dust, ash, and the smell of old fire. Buildings were broken. The sky was gray. Everything looked dead. He had seen many sad places before, but something about this place felt different. It was too quiet, too cold. He tightened the straps of his bag and kept walking. Then, he stopped. In the middle of the street, near a broken wall, something moved. Very slow, almost like a crawling insect. He squinted his eyes. It was not an insect. It was a little alien girl. She was dragging herself across the ground. Her small hands pulled her forward. Her legs, twisted and thin, did not move. Her dress was dirty, torn, and full of holes. Dust covered her face. One eye was bruised. Blood dried at the corner of her mouth. Ethan looked around. Dozens of aliens walked past her. Some were tall, others short, with smooth skin and different colors. But no one stopped. No one helped her. Some even looked away, as if she didn't exist. Ethan's heart sank. His steps moved toward her. As he came closer, the girl tried to hide her face. Her body shook. She reached out with her hand, not for help, but to push him away. "Don't hurt me," she whispered. Ethan stopped. He raised both hands to show he meant no harm. "I won't hurt you," he said softly. "I just want to help." She didn't believe him. Her eyes were full of fear, like she had seen too many monsters already. Ethan took off his jacket and gently placed it over her. She flinched. "What's your name?" he asked. The girl didn't answer. "Where's your family?" he asked again. She looked away. Her small fingers dug into the dirt. "Gone," she said quietly. Ethan sat down beside her. His boots sank into the soft dust. "Can I carry you somewhere safe?" She hesitated. Her lips trembled. "If I go, will they find me again?" "Who?" Ethan asked. "The ones who broke me," she said. "The ones who said I was trash." His chest tightened. He didn't ask more. Instead, he slowly reached out and lifted her in his arms. She was light, too light. Her bones felt sharp under her skin. She didn't resist, but her body was stiff like a statue. He wrapped her in the jacket and walked away from the crowd. No one tried to stop him. No one even looked at him. He found a quiet corner behind a half-broken store. There was a rusted bench and a few metal crates. He laid her down gently. "Here," he said, giving her water. She took it, but sipped very slowly, like she was afraid it would disappear. He opened a food pack and handed her soft bread. Her hands shook as she held it. "Eat. It's yours," he said. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she took the first bite. After a few minutes, she spoke again. "Why are you helping me?" Ethan looked at her. "Because someone should have helped you a long time ago." She stared at him like she didn't understand the words. Maybe she didn't. Maybe she had never heard kindness before. That night, he made a small fire. She curled up beside it, still wearing his jacket. Her eyes stayed open for a long time. "Are you going to sell me?" she asked suddenly. Ethan turned to her. "No." "Are you going to take me back to the lab?" He paused. "What lab?" She shook her head and whispered, "The place where they made me, tested me, broke my legs when I couldn't run fast." Ethan clenched his fists. She didn't cry. She just looked tired, broken. "I don't belong to anyone," she said. "Not even to myself." "You belong to yourself," Ethan said gently. "And you're safe now." She looked into his eyes, and for the first time, she believed him. She belonged to no one. The next morning, the little girl woke up with a start. Her hands gripped the edge of the blanket. For a second, she forgot where she was. Then she saw the fire's ashes and the man sitting nearby, fixing something with his tools. She didn't speak. She just watched. Ethan noticed her eyes open. He gave her a small smile. "Good morning." She didn't reply. He brought over a piece of fruit and placed it near her. "You hungry?" She nodded, but slowly, like she wasn't sure if she was allowed to eat again. As she ate in silence, Ethan asked, "What's your name?" She didn't look up. "They never gave me one." Ethan paused. "Not even the people at the lab?" She shook her head. "I was just Subject 8B. Ethan's heart broke at those words. "Well," he said softly, "you should have a name. Something that belongs to you." She looked at him, curious. He thought for a second, then said, "How about Nova? It means a star that shines bright even after it explodes." The girl stared at him. "Nova," she repeated quietly. He nodded. Nova. She held on to that name like it was a treasure. Later that day, Ethan carried her to a nearby water pipe. He gently washed her face and hands. She didn't resist, but every time his fingers got close to her legs, she flinched. "They hurt you badly, didn't they?" he asked. She nodded. "Do you want to walk again one day?" She didn't answer for a while. Then, in a voice like a whisper, she said, "I don't know if I remember how." Ethan placed a hand on her shoulder. "Then we'll learn together." By nightfall, he had found an old wheelchair in the junkyard behind a broken clinic. He cleaned it, fixed the wheels, and added padding to the seat. He returned to her, smiling. "Want to try something?" When he picked her up and gently placed her in the chair, her eyes widened. "It moves," she whispered, pushing one wheel slowly. Ethan pushed her along the road. For the first time, she saw the world move past her without crawling in the dirt. She smiled, a small smile, but real. But happiness didn't last. The next morning, 3 tall aliens in dark coats appeared. Their faces were cold. Their eyes scanned the street. One of them had a metal device showing signals. "They're looking for someone," Ethan muttered. He grabbed Nova's chair and wheeled her back behind the old store. She looked at him scared. "They know. They always know." Ethan crouched down. "Nova, listen to me. If they try to take you, I won't let them. I promise. You can't stop them," she whispered. "Watch me," he said firmly. The men came closer. One of them knocked on a shop door. "We're looking for a subject. Female, small, weak, damaged goods. She escaped from a restricted facility." A merchant asked, "Why bother with a broken child?" The alien hissed, "She's not just a child. She carries experimental code. She's worth money." Nova's hands clenched the chair's armrests. Ethan whispered, "Time to go." He wheeled her away through the back streets, quiet and fast. They didn't have much time, but he knew the city better than most. He used broken paths and hidden doors. When they finally reached a small tunnel under an old bridge, he stopped to rest. Nova looked at him. "Why are you doing this?" "I'm not worth anything." Ethan kneeled beside her. "Don't say that. You are worth everything. They don't get to decide that." She lowered her eyes. "But I don't belong to anyone." "You do now," he said. "You belong to yourself. And I'll protect you until you can stand again." Her voice cracked. "Even if I never walk?" "Even if you never walk," he replied. That night, Nova fell asleep with a new thought in her mind. Maybe she wasn't just Subject 8B anymore. Maybe she was Nova. Marked for disposal, Ethan checked the sky. 2 surveillance drones buzzed above the rooftops, their red lights scanning every alley below. He pulled Nova's wheelchair into the shadow of a rusted container and waited in silence. Nova sat quietly, holding her breath. She had stopped asking questions. She knew what came next if they were caught. "I think they've marked you," Ethan whispered. Nova turned her face. "They already did?" Ethan looked at her. "What do you mean?" She raised the edge of her sleeve. A glowing barcode shimmered under her skin. "It's a disposal tag. Every failed subject got one. If anyone scans me, they'll know I was meant to be thrown away." Ethan's face darkened. She looked away. "I wasn't supposed to live. Hours passed. They moved only when it was safe, cutting through old streets and forgotten corners of the city. At one point, Ethan stopped at a small market, leaving Nova hidden behind an empty crate. She waited, clutching the sides of her chair. Suddenly, a shadow fell over her. A voice spoke. "Well, look at this." A man in a faded cloak stared at her. One of his eyes was mechanical, glowing faintly. "You're the broken one, aren't you?" Nova's heart pounded. She didn't speak. He walked around her. "You know there's a price on you, little thing? Enough to buy a ship." She tried to wheel herself back, but he grabbed the chair. "Don't worry. I'll turn you in nice and easy." But before he could move, a metal rod slammed into his back. He dropped. Ethan stood behind him, holding a broken pipe. His chest was rising fast. "Touch her again, and I'll make sure you lose more than your eye." Nova stared in shock. No one had ever fought for her before. No one had ever hit someone to protect her. Ethan knelt beside her. "You okay?" She nodded slowly. He smiled. "Let's get out of here." That night, they found shelter in the lower tunnels, places where the city forgot its dead. Pipes dripped. Rats ran. But it was safe for now. Ethan cleaned a wound on her arm. It was shallow but old. "They didn't take care of you at all, did they?" Nova shook her head. "We were tools. If a tool broke, it was thrown away." Ethan's voice was soft but angry. "You're not a tool." He opened his bag and took out a small light scanner. He hovered it near the barcode on her arm. The screen beeped. "Target disposal, do not rescue." Code. X8B. Nova sighed. "See? I'm just garbage." Ethan crushed the scanner under his boot. Not anymore. In the days that followed, Ethan found old files in abandoned computers and labs. He pieced together bits of truth. Nova wasn't just a failed test. She was part of a forgotten super soldier project, made using both alien and human DNA. She was supposed to be faster, smarter, stronger. But something happened during her early growth. Her legs stopped developing. The scientists called it a waste of resources. They used her for painful data collection instead, then marked her for disposal. Nova listened in silence as Ethan told her everything. Finally, she whispered, "So I was never a child." Ethan took her hand. "You're a child now, for the first time." She smiled weakly, but their peace didn't last. Late one evening, an old machine flickered to life in the corner of the tunnel. A transmission played on a cracked screen. Subject: X8B has been identified alive. Bounty updated. Immediate retrieval authorized. Dead or alive. Nova's face went pale. Ethan stepped in front of the screen and turned it off. "They're getting desperate," he said. Nova looked at him. "What do we do?" Ethan met her eyes. "We run. But this time we don't hide. I know a place, an outpost beyond the wastelands. There's a human doctor there who helps people like you. We'll get your legs back, and we'll erase that." Barcode. Nova didn't respond at first. Then she whispered, "Even if I'm marked for death?" Ethan stood tall. Then we changed the mark. The escape in the dark night fell heavy over the ruined city. But Ethan didn't stop. He had stripped Nova's chair of anything that could track her. Now he pushed her through the back alleys, fast, silent, and careful. The streets were cold. The wind carried the sound of distant sirens. Nova clutched his old coat around her shoulders. Her lips trembled, not from the cold, but from fear. "They know," she whispered. "They always know." Ethan glanced back. Not tonight. They reached an old metro entrance, its gate rusted but still open. Ethan wheeled her down the broken stairs. The place was abandoned. Empty tracks stretched into darkness. Ethan pulled a tarp over the chair and sat beside her. "We'll rest here for an hour, then we move again." Nova looked around the tunnel. "You said we were going to a doctor." "We are," he said. "He used to rebuild wounded soldiers. He can help." "You too," she hesitated. "But what if I'm too broken?" "You're not," he said quickly. You're just unfinished. Suddenly, a soft beep echoed from Ethan's wrist device. He checked it. His face changed. What is it? Nova asked. They found our trail. She froze. Already? They hacked the last signal tower. They traced the scan I made. Ethan stood. No more hiding, we run now. Nova's heart beat fast. But I can't run. He looked down at her. That's why I'll carry you. Ethan tied the wheelchair to his back and picked her up. She was light, but the metal braces added weight. He stepped onto the tracks and began to move fast down the dark tunnel. The silence was sharp until a whirring sound echoed behind them. Then red lights, drones, 3 of them scanning and sweeping through the tunnel. Ethan ran. Nova wrapped her arms around his neck, whispering, I'm sorry. Don't be, he said between breaths. You're worth this. A sharp sound cut through the air. A stun blast hit the wall inches from Ethan's head. Sparks flew. The drones were armed. Go back, Subject 8B, a voice called from the dark. She doesn't belong to you, Ethan shouted. Then, you'll both be erased. Ahead, a collapsed section of tunnel blocked the tracks. Ethan had one chance. He turned sharply into a side tunnel and jumped over a pile of debris. His foot slipped, but he kept his grip on Nova tight. They landed hard behind a thick steel door. Ethan kicked the control panel. It sparked. The door began to close. The drones came closer. He slammed the panel again with a loud grind. The door shut. Darkness. Silence. Then, Ethan collapsed, gasping. Nova sat up slowly, shaking. You could have died. He smiled, breathless. But I didn't. The next morning, Ethan woke to find Nova watching him. You stayed, she said. Of course. I thought you'd leave, like the others. He sat up. I'm not like the others. Nova looked down at her legs. Do you think I'll walk someday? I don't think, he said. I believe. Then he reached into his bag and pulled out a small device. What's that? An old ID chip burner, he replied. It can remove that disposal tag. Nova's eyes widened. You can erase it? He nodded. And replace it with a new ID. She hesitated. Can I choose the name? You already did. Ethan smiled. She whispered, Nova. He placed the device over her arm, a small beep, a flash. Then, the barcode was gone. Outside the tunnel, the sun began to rise. The chase wasn't over, but Nova was no longer a broken subject. She was someone worth saving, someone free. A place with a bed. Ethan pushed open the heavy door to the old cabin, deep in the forgotten woods. It had once belonged to a soldier, long before the war. Now it was covered in moss and vines. The roof had holes. The windows were cracked. But it stood strong, and it was silent. He looked back at Nova, still in the wheelchair, wrapped in his coat, eyes tired from another long night of running. This is it, he said softly. It's not much, but we're safe here. Nova didn't speak. She just stared at something in the room. A bed. It was small, dusty. The blanket had holes, but it was still a real bed, with a pillow. She reached out with her hand slowly, like touching a dream. I've never had one, she whispered. Ethan smiled and brushed the dust off. It's all yours now. He lifted her gently from the chair and laid her on the bed. The moment her head touched the pillow, something in her broke. Tears rolled down her cheeks, quiet and warm. Not from pain, not from fear, but from something even deeper. Peace. Ethan turned to give her privacy, but she grabbed his hand. Don't go far, she said. Every time I wake up, someone's gone. I'm not going anywhere, he promised. Over the next few days, the cabin became their world. Ethan repaired old machines and built braces using metal scraps and wires. They didn't look pretty, but they were strong. He tightened the straps carefully around her thin legs. You ready? He asked one morning. Nova looked nervous. What if I fall? Then I'll catch you. With his help, she stood. Her legs shook, her arms trembled, but she stood. and for the first time in her life she didn't crawl. Each day they trained. Ethan placed markers across the room. "Try to reach the chair," he'd say, "one step at a time." She fell often, but he never let her hit the ground. "You're getting stronger," he said. Nova's face lit up more each time. Her steps were small, but they were hers. One night, Ethan cooked a warm stew from dry rations. As they ate by candlelight, Nova asked something unexpected. "Were you a soldier?" He nodded slowly. "Long ago." "Why did you stop?" He stared at the flame. "I saw too many people hurt, too many like you. I left because I wanted to help, without a weapon in my hand." Nova thought for a moment. "You help better than soldiers." He smiled. "Thank you." Later that night, as Nova lay in bed, she looked out the broken window at the stars. "Ethan? Yeah? If I grow up, can I be like you?" He walked over and sat by her side. "You'll be better than me." She reached out and touched his hand. "I don't want to be forgotten again." "You won't be," he said. "I remember you, that's forever, but peace has a price and it never lasts long." On the 5th night, Ethan stepped outside to collect water from the stream. That's when he saw it, a flash of red in the trees, a tracking drone. It hovered, scanning, silent, watching. Ethan's stomach turned cold. He ran back to the cabin. Nova was sitting up, worried. "What is it?" "We have to move." "Now, but I just started walking." He knelt beside her. "I know, but they found us. We can't let them take you again." Her voice cracked. "I don't want to lose this place." Ethan touched her shoulder gently. "We'll find another one, with a bed and a bigger window." Tears filled her eyes. "Promise?" He smiled, even through the fear. "Promise." As the first gunships flew over the trees, the cabin behind them began to burn. But Nova, she walked away from it, hand in hand with the only person who had ever stayed. One last chance to run. The forest was on fire. Red flames lit the night sky, and black smoke followed them like angry ghosts. The old cabin, their safe place, was gone, burned down by the same people who once called Nova property. Ethan held her close as they ran, her feet barely touching the ground, her braces clicking with each step. She tried to keep up, but the heat was strong and her legs were still learning. "I'm slowing you down," Nova whispered. "You're not," Ethan said, carrying her when she stumbled. "We're doing this together." Behind them, drones scanned the woods. One spark of movement, one wrong sound, and they would be found. The bounty hunters had come in full force. This time they weren't taking chances. They reached an old road buried under vines and moss. An old rail bike lay tipped beside it, rusted but repairable. Ethan dropped his bag and started working fast. Nova asked, "Where does it go?" "North," he said. "There's a human shelter. Old soldiers. One of them's a doctor. I called him already. He's expecting us. Will they help me walk? They'll help you live." Minutes passed. Ethan got the bike running. The motor buzzed low. He sat Nova gently in the side seat and tied her in. She clutched his hand. "They'll follow us." "I know," he said. "But we only need a little head start." The bike roared to life. They took off down the mossy tracks, leaves flying behind them like green sparks. For a few moments it felt like flying. Nova watched trees blur past. Her heart beat fast, but not from fear this time. From hope. From the thought that maybe, just maybe, she was escaping her past. But then, a sharp sound cracked through the forest. "Zask!" The back wheel sparked. "They're shooting!" Nova screamed. Ethan turned hard, dodging another blast. A drone zipped above them, scanning, targeting. He pulled out a small EMP grenade from his bag and threw it high. Boom! The drone dropped from the sky like a rock, crashing into the trees. But more were coming. Ahead, the tracks broke. The bridge was gone. A deep ravine waited below. Ethan pulled the brakes. Too late. The bike launched off the edge. Nova screamed. Ethan grabbed her, twisting midair, shielding her with his body as they hit the water. Darkness. Silence. Then bubbles. Ethan's head broke the surface first, gasping. He looked around wildly. Nova? A soft cry answered. She floated nearby, her braces weighing her down. He swam fast and pulled her up. I've got you, he said, coughing. She looked at him, scared. Did we die? He smiled. Not yet. They crawled onto the shore, soaking wet, shaking. The sounds of engines grew distant. The drones had lost them for now. They lay in the mud, breathing. Then Nova laughed. A soft, tired laugh. Ethan looked at her. I thought we were dead, she said. He grinned. You can laugh after that? You're tougher than I thought. She held his hand. I just realized I didn't feel like trash anymore. His smile faded to something deeper. You never were. By morning, they had dried near a small fire. Ethan checked her braces, bent but fixable. Nova stared at the sunrise. I walked. I ran. I even flew. She said softly. Ethan chuckled. You survived. That's more than most. She looked at him. What if they catch us again? Then, we fight again, he said. Her voice cracked. I don't want to go back. You never will, Ethan promised. You're not a lab subject now. You're Nova. You belong to yourself. She nodded. The sun rose higher. One more chance. One more day. And still, they kept running. But now, with hope in their steps. A future with legs. The gates of the hidden human outpost stood tall and still, surrounded by mountains and guarded by silence. It was a forgotten place, once used in war, now home to a few old soldiers who didn't ask questions. Ethan and Nova reached the entrance just as the sun dipped behind the hills. Their clothes were torn. Mud covered Nova's knees. The braces were cracked, but they were alive. A camera above the gate blinked. A voice crackled through a speaker. Name? Ethan. Stepped forward. Ethan Rowe, former ID, HX23. I called ahead. I brought a girl. She needs help. A long pause. Then the gate creaked open. Inside, an old man with white hair and mechanical arms stood waiting. His voice was rough, but his eyes were kind. You're late, he said. We had company, Ethan replied. The man's eyes dropped. To Nova. She was trying to stand on her own, her legs shaking, but she refused to sit. He crouched. And who are you, little star? Nova looked him in the eye. I'm not a subject, I'm not a test, I'm Nova. The man smiled. That's the right answer. He waved his hand. Come on, let's fix those legs. The next few days passed inside a quiet room full of lights and machines. The doctor scanned her bones, read her nervous system, and studied the damage. He never asked about her past. When Nova asked why, he said, Scars tell stories. I only care how to write. The next chapter. She was nervous before the surgery. What if it doesn't work? She asked. Ethan knelt beside her. Then we try again, as many times as it takes. She squeezed his hand. Will you be here when I wake up? He smiled. Always. When she opened her eyes, the lights above her were warm. The doctor stood nearby, checking numbers. Ethan was asleep in a chair, holding her old braces like they were treasure. Nova whispered, Did it work? The doctor nodded. Try. She sat up, swung her legs over the bed, and placed her feet on the floor. Slowly. She stood. The pressure felt strange, different, but real. She took one step, then another. And then, she laughed. Outside, the sun returned. Ethan watched from the door as Nova walked on her own, step by step across the stone path. Each footfall was uneven but steady. She reached him and grinned. You didn't catch me. He laughed. Didn't need to. The next day, Nova found an empty wall inside the outpost. She picked up a marker and wrote, I walked today. Below it, she drew a tiny star. Weeks passed. Her body grew stronger, her voice louder. The fear faded from her eyes. Ethan helped in the outpost, fixing tools, training guards, cooking meals. But everyone knew the real reason he stayed. It wasn't the safety. It was Nova. One quiet evening, she sat beside Ethan and asked, "What happens now?" He looked at her. "That's your choice." "I want to help people like me," she said. "The ones who were thrown away." He smiled. "Then let's build a place where no one gets left behind." She reached into her pocket and showed him a shiny piece of metal, her old barcode tag. "Should I throw it away?" she asked. "No," Ethan said. "Keep it." "Why?" "To remember how far you walked away from it." The stars shone above them that night. She looked up and whispered, "I'm not broken anymore." Ethan looked at her, his voice gentle. "You never were."